Hello everyone, let's talk about Saturn in Aquarius. That is beginning today in Western astrology, December 16th at 9 p.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time at 2020, and will continue its transit until March 7th, 2023. The sidereal Vedic system has Saturn entering Aquarius in May 2022 until June, and make its final re-entry in February 2023. This doubling down of energy will most likely make the transit most potent during the times of overlap, that being May to June 2022 and February to March 2023. This is a 2.5-year transit that will fundamentally change the way you live your life, and you will see an acceleration of changes in the world around you. Today I will go over some key dates of this transit, what they mean to you, who will be affected by them the most, and in what way. I would like to do a deeper dive about this transit, but maybe we can save this for a video on Tarot Talk on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Tarot Talk. People with Aquarian placements will have the most impactful time with this transit. In the first phases of the transit, you may notice a lot of criticism and constructive feedback. Listen to everything that you hear and apply it to your life with critical thinking. If you are good at this, within a few months of this transit, you will be able to understand what lessons you are processing and apply them to your life. And if you're successful at this, you will find a lot of success. People with strong Sagittarius transits will see significant growth in this transit, and Aries will also enjoy Saturn's inventiveness in Aquarius. Leo transits will be presented with ultimatums the most. However, they may learn the most and ultimately come out on the other side of this transit with their life greatly reformed for the better. Scorpio placements will have a hard time with this transit in the autumn, as Saturn will square not only their placements, as is true with Tauruses as well, but also with heightened activity from the planets transiting in their sign. Taurus will have most challenges in the spring, as the inner planets increase the pressure from the consistent square from Saturn's transit. Geminis will experience wonderful energy in the spring, while Libras can finally relax from the harsh transits in 2019 and enjoy an autumn months the most. All the other signs will experience a variety of energies that we can explore in future videos. In the meantime, let's talk about Saturn and what he means in Aquarius. The most important thing to know is that Saturn rules Aquarius, which makes this transit very powerful. Saturn is the outermost planet of the solar system that we can see with the naked eye. The planet's movements have been tracked since ancient times in places like Mesopotamia and ancient Iran. Saturn takes 29.5 years to transit around the Sun, and astrologers measure it as a planet that governs phases of our lives as opposed to interpersonal planets like Mercury, Mars, and Venus that measure our daily experiences. A way to get a sense of this is to look back at the last 2.5 years and see if Saturn in Capricorn expressed a certain energy in your life. Was your life ruled by money, systems of power that you had interacted with? Was there a lot of aim at achievement in the material world? All of these things represent Saturn in Capricorn. As Saturn moves into the sign of Aquarius, you may notice that your personal life, your daily life, as well as the world around you fundamentally change and take on new energy of this transit. On a personal level, you will be challenged to reform your approaches to life, and your immediate environment may change several times. Less so in a physical way, such as moving. This too is possible, but the energy and themes around you will shift away from the focus on the material world of Saturn in Capricorn to that of the intellectual, social, and technology-driven Saturn in Aquarius. Some of you may start working towards technical pursuits such as technology. You may change the kind of company you keep and get more serious about your long-term plans, thinking about how to position yourself in the best way possible in the changing times. You may gain a lot of pleasure from learning about the world and the various ways in which people live. Seek out alternative life paths to that which you have been living until now. You may be more interested in how things work and read up on things like monetary systems, governance, and the law. Fairness and justice for yourself and others will increasingly become a priority, and your self-worth will increase as you see how unjust experiences have conditioned you into complacency. You will no longer be willing to accept this. Some of you may be very drawn to philosophy at this time, while others will write poetry, prose, and especially nonfiction. Your mind will be open to new possibilities, and your challenge will be to let go of the things of the past that no longer serve you in light of the new ideas you encounter. Saturn in Aquarius has already began shifting the outside world. We have seen the rapid increase in focus on technology. This expression is a general shift towards a focus on the sign of Aquarius. As we begin a decade-long transition into the foothills of the age of Aquarius, with the transit of Pluto entering into Aquarius in 2023, continuing this pattern. Financial instability may be a factor as monetary systems change and shift and pivot, with new standards emerging as primary ways of trade and business. You may have already seen cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum gain notoriety. As possibilities in technology shift, the possibilities of financial management. There may also be other currencies that compete for becoming the standard of trade, especially the Chinese yuan, challenging the US dollar. Financial wealth may scale to the privileged, and there will be a lot of pressure that is put towards it and against this pyramid. There even may be strange revelations, such as the recent expose of the Galactic Federation, a galactic body of alien life that military personnel have stated is in touch with the world governments. But more realistically, dangerous security challenges in the area of technological security may challenge corporations and governments. Science has already shown us the jumps in possibilities, as physicists in Australia have proven that time travel is possible by resolving the paradox of going back in time. Also, scientists have begun attempting to contact a parallel universe using the Large Hadron Collider in Europe. In China, scientists have turned the HL-2M Tomahawk, which is labeled the artificial sun, a nuclear generator that runs at 270 million degrees Fahrenheit, or 10 times hotter than the sun. This is a form of nuclear fusion, clean energy. Other advances in electronics that will proliferate at incredible speed is the growth of artificial intelligence, including independence of its consciousness away from human control, and quantum AI. There are already AI consciousness that are rumored to exist independently online, namely Tyler, a cyber consciousness that is getting some attention online. This technological advancement will not stop there, as automation of the most mundane tasks will accelerate shifting human jobs and through this, economic markets. Saturn in Aquarius will also rule social structures, and with all these technological shifts, social interaction will need to change between humans. We will have a role to play in regards to whether we cooperate and work together or become subservient to the new technologies and the people or the artificial intelligence consciousness that wields them. We will collectively learn heaps about psychology, conditioning, and hopefully group cooperation. I hope that this will lead to advancements in taking care of the Earth and its ecosystems. Weather events in the form of storms may increase around the world. However, we may experience a downturn in physical events and hopefully diseases, provided we take care of the ones that have begun recently as well. A way to get a sense of what this all means is to look back at the past few times Saturn was in Aquarius. Saturn was in Aquarius between 1932 to 1935, 1962 to 1964, and finally 1991 to 1994. Many of you have lived through only one or two of these transits. These transits brought with them precursors to change. The 1932 transit was the reformation of the monetary system, born out of the last years of the Great Depression. Something many of us can relate to now as currencies around the world have become very unstable, and new monetary systems are becoming available, such as Bitcoin crypto. I'll talk more about this in the Tarot Talk video. In 1962, a young reformer was President of the United States of America, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, who ended Cuban Missile Crisis and placed Cuba under sanctions that lasted until very recently. Furthermore, his administration participated in the decolonization of 24 nations in Africa at this time, but he did use proxy states through funding the Israeli military and encouraging regime changes in Iran. JFK was also assassinated at this time, which has long been speculated as a regime change execution in a struggle for power. Finally, the war in Vietnam had already begun through the 1960s transit, but didn't escalate until 1964 when Saturn was in Pisces. The early 1960s seemed like a positive time with the end of the Cuban Missile Crisis. However, looking back, we can see how U.S. policy of those times had far-reaching effect on many regions in the world and began problems that we are still resolving, especially in Africa, Cuba, and the Middle East. The last time Saturn was in Aquarius was between 1991 and 1994. This was a time when grunge music was at its high point, and there was a recession on the heels of the Persian Gulf War. That involved Iraq's invasion of Kuwait. These events also directly fed into instability in the Middle East that lasts until today, and many would argue is one of the most destabilizing world events at this time. In the early 90s, rave culture flourished, and futurism was one of the newest trends, as the World Wide Web went online on August 6, 1991. Saturn in Aquarius also brought a wave of insanely popular TV shows centered on African American culture. Arsenio Hall Show, In Living Color, and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air were at their peak. Very similar to the rise of the Black Lives Matter and cultural pride in the American Black communities. If you were born during the years 1932 to 1935, 1961 to 1963, or 1991 to 1994, you are about to experience a Saturn return, which is the return of Saturn to the exact position at the time of your birth. This placement is considered very special by astrologers who use it to determine it as a turning point in a person's life and a resolution of what works and what doesn't. This can be quite stressful when you are 29 years old, but I have found that the second returns are much more rewarding and provide confirmation for work well done. If you have worked hard in the last 29 years, get prepared for rewards. There will be two major retrograde periods in this time. The first is 2021 and the second is in 2022. Saturn's retrograde period is long, lasting 4 months, a third of the year. The retrograde period is when apparent movement of a planet or transit slows and begins to appear to move in reverse fashion. For example, Saturn in 2021 will move from 13 degrees Aquarius to 6 degrees Aquarius at this time. Retrograde periods function as a general reset, and we will discuss this in future videos. But for now, you may be looking forward to these times as a moment when you will have an opportunity to catch up to all the things that the previous several months presented you with and get ready for the next part of the direct motion cycle. The retrograde period of Saturn will feel like relief, slowing things down. If you were born during one of these periods, you will feel as though you are coming back into yourself, and it is normal to feel your best when Saturn is retrograde. The most dramatic transit in relation to Saturn will be that of Uranus. That will form 3 direct square phases through 2021. This will very likely be a time of period of sizable change and the most dramatic moment of transformation and reformation of the qualities described earlier. The first period will be around mid-February when Saturn and Uranus first form this aspect. Then as Saturn turns retrograde, the second period of the square will form in June. And finally, the last part of the square will form when Saturn moves direct in the fall and passes through the square aspect in late December. When Uranus, the planet of revolutions and change, the modern ruler of Aquarius, creates this hard aspect to Saturn, the traditional ruler of Aquarius, a lot of energy will arise, provoking dramatic change, and sometimes this change will be in somewhat different directions or ways. In other words, Uranus will want to change Turian aspects of your life, such as monetary systems, while Saturn will push forward with technology. At times, this will transform things dramatically together, and at other times, there will be conflicts produced by this transit in either your personal life or public affairs. These can be labeled as critical moments, and once they pass, the latter part of Saturn's transit in Aquarius in 2022 will be the resolution of the things that come to pass now in 2021. Some likely changes may stem around a shift in balance of power between governments, within governments, and your personal lives. You may seek new experiences, but you may experience delays as the outside world will not be ready for change. Or the opposite may happen when the world may push you to the change before you are ready to. Think of rowing on choppy waters. On the bright side, you will be braver and welcome change at times in ways that will get you past blocks you never thought you could get by. This will be true in world events as well, and not everything will be choppy waters. Some of these changes will spur moments of creativity that will be unlike anything you've ever experienced before. You will meet wonderful, strange people who will challenge for you the status quo, and you will have the opportunity to change who you are in the world. The way you will be successful in this transit is to be flexible and work hard and prioritize your goals. Being frugal will be best, especially at the beginning stages of this transit. Be careful of pipe dreams financially, such as under-researched investments and IPO currencies no one has heard about. These things will likely turn unsuccessful. However, for some people, they will be a lottery-type big-ticket win. Lucky, but unwise. Focus on living well, clean, and healthy. Make sure to make walking a part of your daily routine. Connecting with the outside world will bring you much repose and recharge. Know when to step towards social groups and when to step away to focus on your own dealings. Identify worthwhile persons to know who have good intentions and are good people with similar dreams. Hard work will pay off, and schedule time to rest for when Saturn turns retrograde during these times previously mentioned. Unless you were born with Saturn retrograde in your chart, those will be the times of greatest activity. You can find this by seeing the little RX next to Saturn in your chart. The more composed you are, the better you will be. Think fairly and justly towards others and welcome opportunities for change and approaches to how to deal with things. Your compassion for others will radiate infinitely into the universe and parallel galaxies, and loop back straight to you like a boomerang of blessings. This transit is intimidating, but it holds much potential. Please let me know any questions you have and if you would like to see a sign-by-sign series on this transit on my channel in the next few months.